For months, the southern front looked frozen in time. Satellite images revealed miles of trenches, concrete barriers, and extensive minefields stretching across the steppe, like a scar carved into the earth. Moscow believed this landscape had been permanently reshaped in its favor. What was meant to be a wall had become a promise, that Ukraine would break itself against it. That promise has now collapsed. What is unfolding in southern Ukraine is not a dramatic charge or a single explosive moment, but something far more dangerous for Russia, a slow, methodical unraveling of a defensive system once thought untouchable. Reports from the front describe Russian units abandoning vehicles, logistics nodes going up in flames, and reserves rushing south in a disorderly scramble. This is not the picture of a line under pressure. It is the image of a system losing coherence. At the center of this breakdown lies a defensive structure that had become almost mythical in military circles. Built over many months, layer by layer, it was designed to absorb punishment, stall momentum, and bleed attackers until they had nothing left to give. Anti-tank ditches forced armor into narrow approaches. Concrete obstacles denied speed. Trenches, bunkers, and observation posts turned open ground into a carefully mapped killing field. Beneath it all lay mines, not scattered but engineered in depth, often stacked, designed to disable machines and men alike. This was not simply a battlefield obstacle. It was the physical foundation of Russia's occupation strategy in the south. As long as it held, the land corridor connecting Russia to Crimea remained intact. Supplies flowed, troops rotated. Crimea stayed insulated from the full force of the war. But modern warfare rarely rewards rigidity. Instead of battering itself against these defenses head-on, Ukrainian forces adapted. When early armored assaults proved too costly, the approach changed. The battlefield shifted from mass to precision, from visibility to invisibility. Small infantry groups began moving at night, probing, mapping, and dismantling the defensive zone piece by piece. Combat engineers became the most critical asset on the field, advancing meter by meter under constant threat, often without vehicles, often without cover. Technology played a decisive role, not as spectacle, but as endurance. Mine-clearing systems opened narrow lanes. Armored vehicles absorbed damage that would have annihilated older designs, allowing crews to survive, regroup, and return. Survival itself became a weapon, preserving experience and momentum. Above and beyond the ground fight, another war was being waged, one of sensors, signals, and silence. As Russian radar and electronic warfare assets were systematically degraded, artillery coordination faltered. Ukrainian long-range systems exploited these gaps, striking supply depots, command posts, and reserve concentrations that had once felt safely distant from the front. The capture of key positions in this sector was not significant because of the territory gained, but because of the geometry. Ukrainian forces moved inside the defensive shell. Once that happened, the logic of the entire system inverted. Lines built to stop an advance from the outside were suddenly vulnerable from within. Every kilometer forward expanded the area under Ukrainian fire control. This shift sent shockwaves through Russian command structures. The problem was no longer the loss of a village or a trench line, it was logistics. Rail hubs that sustained the southern front drifted into artillery range. Highways once considered rear areas became exposed corridors. Moving ammunition and fuel became slower, riskier, and less predictable. In response, Moscow made a choice that revealed the depth of the crisis. Elite airborne units, formations designed for offensive operations, were rushed in to stabilize the breach. This was not a show of strength. It was an admission that no fresh reserves remained. By committing these forces here, Russia weakened other fronts and narrowed its strategic options to a single gamble. Hold the corridor at all costs. The implications stretch far beyond the battlefield. As the land route to Crimea comes under sustained pressure, The peninsula's status changes fundamentally. What was once a secure rear base begins to resemble a forward outpost, dependent on fragile supply lines. With overland logistics threatened, reliance shifts to sea routes, even as naval assets face increasing risk from precision strikes and unmanned systems. Internationally, the meaning of this breakthrough is already being reassessed. What many believed impossible without air superiority has now been demonstrated through adaptation, attrition, and persistence. Arguments against deeper military support are weakening. Strategic confidence is shifting. What we are witnessing is not the end of the war, nor an instant collapse. It is something more dangerous for Russia, momentum changing sides. Static defenses are giving way to fluid battles, and time, once Moscow's ally, is becoming its enemy. The corridor is open. Whether it becomes a decisive rupture or a brutal stalemate will depend on what comes next. But one fact is now impossible to ignore. The southern front is no longer secure, and the future of the land bridge to Crimea is no longer guaranteed. The world is watching closely. What happens next will shape not just the battlefield, but the balance of power across the entire region. If you found this analysis valuable, make sure to like the video. It helps more people see it. Subscribe to the channel for in-depth updates and clear breakdowns of the conflict as it continues to evolve. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss our next report. The situation is changing fast, and we'll be tracking every major development. Until next time, stay informed and keep watching closely.